Have you ever noticed how no matter how many crunches you do, that stubborn belly fat just won't budge? Or how women can diet for months and still struggle with that last bit of hip fat? Well, luckily for you, today I'm going to reveal why your body is literally programmed to hold on to fat in those specific areas, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. What if I told you that the reason you can't lose fat in certain areas has nothing to do with your workout routine or diet plan, but everything to do with your hormones and evolutionary biology? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why fat accumulates differently for men and women, and I'll give you 5 science-backed strategies that actually work for losing stubborn fat, including one method that Harvard researchers found increases targeted fat loss by up to 56%. Most fitness experts will tell you spot reduction is a myth and that you can't target fat loss in specific areas. And while that's partially true, it's also an oversimplification that's holding you back. As someone who's been a longevity fitness coach for over a decade, I've helped people just like you finally break through their fat loss plateaus using the exact methods I'm about to share with you. Yes, I'm the fitness messiah, and today we're parting the seas. Don't take that last part seriously. The common approach to losing stomach or hip fat is simply eat less, move more. But today I'm going to show you why that approach fails for stubborn fat areas and give you a complete biological blueprint for finally getting rid of those trouble spots. Here's what we're covering today. 1. Why men and women store fat differently and the surprising evolutionary reasons. 2. The hormone connection, why certain areas are the last to lose fat. 3, the 5 science-backed strategies that actually work for stubborn fat. 4, and a complete action plan you can start implementing today. Let's dive in. So, why exactly do men tend to store fat in their bellies and lower back while women store it in their hips and arms? It all comes down to something called sex-specific adiposity. Men have more alpha receptors in their abdominals and lower back regions. These receptors make it easier for fat to be stored in these areas and harder for it to be released. Women, on the other hand, have more alpha receptors in their hips, thighs, and arms. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just random. These patterns have evolved for specific biological purposes. I know, crazy, right? For men, abdominal fat was a quick energy reserve for hunting and fighting. When our male ancestors needed rapid energy for chasing prey or defending against threats, that visceral fat around the organs could quickly be mobilized. Imagine you're a prehistoric man tracking a deer through a forest, loincloth covering your manly bits, haven't bathed in a week, prehistoric stuff. You might go days with minimal food, but you need to maintain explosive energy for when it's time to sprint and make the kill. That belly fat, it's your ancestral energy pack. For women, the fat storage in hips and thighs was connected to reproduction. These areas contain special omega-3 fatty acids that are crucial for fetal brain development, those baby-making hips. A 2018 study from the University of Pittsburgh found that hip fat contains up to 30% more DHA fat than other areas of the body. DHA is a type of omega-3, but you already knew that. Your body is literally saving these resources for potential pregnancy, even if it's not your personal plan. It's your biology playing the long game for species survival. Now, here's what no one tells you. Understanding these biological differences isn't just interesting, it's the key to finally breaking through your fat loss plateau. Pretty cool, right? But before I reveal the most effective strategy for dealing with stubborn fat, let's talk about the hormone connection, because this is where things get even more interesting. Remember those alpha receptors I mentioned earlier? Well, they're just part of the story. The real villain in our stubborn fat saga is a perfect storm of hormones, those pesky hormones. For men, the hormone that causes the most trouble is cortisol. When stress levels rise, cortisol floods your system, and guess where it tells your body to store fat? That's right, directly in your abdominal region. A groundbreaking study from Yale University found that men with high cortisol levels had significantly more belly fat even when their overall body fat percentage was the same as men with lower cortisol levels. So those late nights at the office followed by stress eating, They're literally programming your body to build a bigger belly. For women, estrogen plays the leading role. During reproductive years, estrogen actually helps keep fat off the abdomen and directs it to the hips and thighs. But here's the kicker. As estrogen levels fluctuate during the menstrual cycle or decline during menopause, that protective effect diminishes. Dr. Marilyn Glenville, a nutritionist specializing in women's health, found that estrogen fluctuations can cause fat storage patterns to shift dramatically throughout a woman's life. I had a client who was frustrated because she'd always carried her weight in her hips, but after having two children, suddenly her belly became her problem area. She didn't understand why her body had changed so dramatically. What she was experiencing was a shift in her hormonal balance that changed her fat storage patterns, or as I like to put it, hormones be hormoning. Now, here's where it gets exciting. Once you understand these connections, you can actually use them to your advantage. The key insight most people miss is that hormones aren't just causing the problem, they're also the solution. And that brings us out to our most powerful strategy for targeting stubborn fat. Now, let's get to what you've been waiting for, the actual solutions. These aren't quick fixes or miracle cures. These are scientifically proven methods that work with your biology, not against it. The first strategy is something I call specific intensity training, and it's based on a fascinating metabolic phenomenon. When you perform high intensity exercise, your body releases something called catecholamines, specifically epinephrine and norepinephrine. These hormones actually bypass those stubborn alpha receptors and can access fat that's normally locked away. A 2018 study in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that interval training increased catecholamine levels by up to 450% compared to steady state cardio. Here's how to apply this. Instead of long, moderate cardio sessions, do more shorter, intense workouts. Think 30 seconds of all-out effort followed by 90 seconds of recovery and repeat it for 8 to 10 times. This could be sprinting, rowing, cycling, anything that gets your heart rate up quickly. I had a client who had been doing 45 minutes of treadmill walking 5 days a week for months with minimal results on his belly fat. We switched him to just 15-minute intervals, training 3 times a week, and within 6 weeks, he'd lost 2 inches off his waist and he could fit into his old jeans again. The reason this works is that you're essentially creating a hormonal environment that can overcome the stubborn fat's resistance to being burned. The second strategy addresses the hormone that's causing men to store belly fat, cortisol. A study from the University of California found that implementing specific sleep and stress management techniques reduced cortisol levels by up to 23% in just 2 weeks. Here is the protocol. Sleep for 7 to 9 hours in complete darkness, practice 10 minutes of mindful meditation daily, implement tech sunsets, so no screens, 90 minutes before bed, and supplement with 200 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate before bed. This protocol works by lowering your overall cortisol load, which essentially removes the hormone that's telling your body to store fat in your abdomen. For women, addressing stress is equally important, but the approach needs to be slightly different due to the interaction between cortisol and estrogen. For women struggling with hip and thigh fat, balancing estrogen levels is crucial. A study from the University of Toronto found that specific dietary compounds can help modulate estrogen metabolism and reduce fat storage in estrogen-sensitive areas. Here's what the plan includes. A daily intake of cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, etc. 25 to 35 grams of fiber daily, limiting alcohol to 3 drinks per week or less, and consuming 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed daily, plus reducing exposure to xenoestrogens, which are plastics and certain cosmetics. Yeah, some of those beauty products you love might be the problem, but at least now you're aware. This nutrition approach helps your body process estrogen more efficiently, which can reduce its fat storing effects on your hips and thighs. This fourth strategy is something that's gaining serious scientific backing: targeted cold exposure. A 2020 study in the Journals of Cell Metabolism found that regular cold exposure activates brown fat, which actually burns white fat for heat. White fat is the kind that accumulates in those problem areas. Here's how to implement this. End each shower with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water. Use ice packs on stubborn fat areas for 20 minutes. If you're advanced, try cold plunges or cryotherapy. I personally use this method by ending my showers with cold water. It's uncomfortable at first, and trust me, I hate the cold, but results are results. This final strategy is the most powerful, but also requires the most discipline. It's based on the fact that insulin is a major player in fat storage and mobilization. A Harvard study found that lowering insulin levels through specific dietary timing increased fat burning from stubborn areas by up to 56% compared to traditional dieting. Here's the protocol. A 14 to 16 hour fasting window daily. Break your fast with proteins, healthy fats, and minimal carbs. Save most carbohydrates for post-workout and include 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before carb-containing meals. This method works by creating long periods of low insulin, which forces your body to tap into stubborn fat stores, followed by strategic insulin spikes that help with muscle preservation and recovery. It works very well. And here's the key insight. These strategies work best when combined. The magic happens when you're addressing both the hormonal and physical aspects of stubborn fat storage. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but how do I actually implement all of this? Don't worry, I've got you covered with a complete action plan. Of course, that's why you watch this long. Duh. Here's a 28-day plan that incorporates all 5 strategies. Week 1 is all about foundation building. Implement the cortisol reset protocol, which means better sleep and stress management. Begin 16-hour intermittent fasting and start with 2 high-intensity workouts, just 15 minutes each. Week 2, we add cold exposure. Continue week 1 protocols, add 30-second cold showers, and increase to 3 high-intensity workouts. Week 3 is about nutrition optimization. Implement estrogen balancing nutrition. That goes for you ladies. Men focus on cortisol reducing foods. Obviously, continue with all the previous protocols. Week 4, we do full integration. All strategies operating simultaneously. Add targeted cold exposure to stubborn areas and optimize workout timing with fasting. I've seen this exact plan work time and time again, not only with myself, who used to weigh 230 pounds at one point, but many clients I've had the pleasure of helping. But here's the thing. This isn't just about looking better. The same fat that's the most stubborn to lose is also the most dangerous to your health. Visceral fat and estrogen-dominant fat are linked to inflammation, insulin resistance, and even certain cancers. By implementing these strategies, you're not just changing how you look, you're potentially adding years to your life. And who doesn't love that? Listen, your body isn't broken. It's just following the ancient programming that doesn't serve us in this modern world. The good news is that once you understand the code, you can hack it. Those stubborn fat areas have frustrated you for years, right? They're not permanent. They're just waiting for the right signals to let them go. So, there you have it, the complete science of stubborn fat and the proven strategies to finally overcome it. Let's recap what we've learned. 1. Men and women store fat differently due to evolutionary biology and hormonal differences. 2. Stubborn fat is regulated by specific receptors and hormones. 3. Traditional approaches fail because they don't address these biological factors. 4. The 5 science-backed strategies that work by targeting the hormonal causes of stubborn fat. And 5, implementing these strategies in a systematic way is key to success. The reason most people struggle with losing fat in these areas isn't because they're not trying hard enough. It's because they're fighting against their own biology. But now you have the blueprint to work with your body, not against it. It's shameless plug time. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss more awesome videos, unless you just hate me. Remember, your body is trying to protect you with these fat storage patterns, but in the modern world, you need to send it new signals. Start implementing these strategies today, and you'll be amazed at what your body is capable of. Catch you later.